And call the Resource Conservation Commission May 13th, 2024 meeting to order. Diane, would you mind being the timekeeper tonight?
Got my watch.
Okay. And there's no one here, public appearances, anyone offering any input? None. Before we move on to approval of minutes, I'd just like to everyone know that we have a new alder on the commission, Bill Jesser. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you.
Look forward to having you on the commission, and look forward to your input and guidance. And maybe just, if you want to give it just a couple of minutes, just tell us about yourself.
Sure. So my wife and I moved here in 1996, and I started paying attention to, getting more civically engaged about like 2 or 3 years ago, and wound up jumping in on Mayor Julia's open alder seat. So that's how I became an alder. I've been a bike commuter since I was about 9 years old, and interested in, conservation, environmentalism, energy efficiency. That's just forever. So I think I enjoy my appointment here.
Great, well, you'd be a great addition to the commission.
Bill, what other committees have you been on?
I'm on TTC, Board of Public Works, Finance, and so my first year, this is the second year on council. The first year I was on personnel, and I switched over to finance, and I was on housing advisory, and I switched over to here.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. I don't know if you know much about us, but I'm the chair. I'm an aquatic ecologist. I've been doing that for the last 30 years. I have my own environmental consulting firm, so I do that on the side. Christian, you?
I'm Chris Jimison, so I've been on the Resource Conservation Commission since 2008. So I had a little break around adopting a son in 2011 to 2013, but I also serve as our community outreach subcommittee chair for sustainability, so kind of figuring out our sustainability events that we want to do around the community. And as a job, I'm an environmental consultant at SCS Engineers, so mostly working on solid waste management issues.
Jim?
Hi, Jim Tingham. I'm a professor at UW-Madison, the director of the program that our esteemed city staff comes from. I teach primarily development and design of renewable energy systems at UW, and my research specialty is geothermal exchange.
Kim?
We're going to skip Ben.
Oh, dear.
Hi.
Okay.
Oh. Should I go or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Perfect. Okay. Hi, I'm Kim Workentine, and I work for the Wisconsin Land and Water Conservation Association and do all of the youth education programming. I've been on the commission, I think, since 2014, I think, and interested in all things sustainability, recycling, are kind of my recycling, and is kind of my main point of interest. So, welcome.
Thanks, Kim. Andrew? You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry about that. My dog was barking. Anyway, I'm Andy Slager. I have been on the commission for just under a year, I think. My job is I'm an ecologist / land manager for a not-for-profit called the Prairie Enthusiasts. And I'm also on one other committee, board of review for City of Fitchburg. So I like it.
Okay. Great, thank you.
And I'm Ben Schulte, environmental engineer here at the City of Fitchburg. Been with the city for about 2 years now. And along with Phil Groupie, who is not here, we're both staff contacts for the RCC.
Thanks, Ben. All right, well, thank you, everyone.
Can I go?
Oh, sure. Oh, I'm sorry. I think you spoke and I know.
I'm Diane Streck. I've been on the commission a little bit longer than Chris. I guess my claim to fame is I'm a CPA, so it's not really related to what this commission deals with. I started on the commission when Mike Rupiper was here as staff, and I expressed concern about contractors not recycling cardboard. And he asked if I would be interested in joining, and I've been on ever since.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's move on to our agenda item approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the draft meeting minutes from March 11, 2024?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Second, Chris seconds. Discussion?
I have a couple of things. I'd like to change 4C when it's talking about what Chad talked to us about. He actually answered questions on the new staff guidance for the minutes. And then on 5A and B, the explanation under 5A doesn't do anything more than repeat what's in the agenda item, update on dark sky lighting ordinance. So could we just replace that with a brief sentence on what the update was?
Yes.
And the same thing with 5C, planned outreach event updates.
We'll get
Please.
that in there.
Thank you.
Any other further discussion? All in favor of approving the meeting minutes with additions, say aye.
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 Opposed? None opposed, motion passed. Okay, on to item agenda 4, new business, 4A. Ed, you want to give us discuss the draft solid waste collection services request for proposal?
Yes, so, well, I guess first of all, just share my screen here quick, in case anyone wants to follow along. It's a pretty large document, so just saying page numbers might not be that great. All right. So, again, just a real brief overview. This is a draft RFP for solid waste collection services for the years 2025 through 2029. Current contract with Pelletier, our current waste hauler, expires at the end of this year. December 31st is the last day in the contract. So we will be requesting proposals.
Ben, before you continue, we decided when Pelletier suggested that, or asked, they said they would like to renew, but the city doesn't want to do that.
Yes, so what I had discussed with Chad and Misty, you know, I think the sentiment was really that with a contract this large, we would want to get prices basically just to be comfortable with the decision that's being made. And it may be difficult to sole source this and justify that without seeing other prices and seeing what other providers are at. So
No,
yes.
So where did all of our carts come from? Do they say Pelletier right on them?
They do not. So they say, I believe, property of Fitchburg.
Okay, good.
Yes. Yup, so while
I'm gonna figure
Pelletier,
that out.
yes, they currently keep a stockpile, if you will, or you know, they have extra carts that they deliver, but they are the cities. So as far as the timing with this RFP, before we get a little bit more into the content, the goal would be to release the final version of this RFP towards the end of May 27th. We would get questions back from any contractors by June 14th, and then we would have proposals be due on July 1st, so kind of providing them plenty of time to put their proposal together. I would anticipate following the submittal of the proposals, we would put together, we could have some sort of a small group to review the proposals based on some agreed upon criteria. That would be myself, potentially Tim Bolker, Director of Public Works, and then maybe if there's a couple members of RCC that would like to be involved in that review process, we could certainly do that as well. And depending on how many proposals we get or how close they are, we would also like to do some interviews with the service providers if we feel that that's needed.
And then what would be the next step after that?
So once we have a waste hauler selected, we would
so you don't anticipate it coming before RCC before you select the waste hauler?
Well, I think there'll be a resolution to sign the contract with the selected waste hauler, and that would go to RCC. But I don't think there would be, well, maybe we could have a meeting where we just discuss the proposals. But my thought would be we would have a couple interested members of RCC be on this panel.
Okay.
And go about it that way, I think, just to expedite the process a little bit, and then we could still have, people involved that way. And then once we have the waste hauler selected, we would, type up the resolution, get the contract routed through council. Ideally, if we get proposals by July 1st, that would give us, a couple weeks to conduct some interviews if needed, score them, and we could potentially even get a contract referred out at the last July council meeting, and if not then, the first council meeting in August. And once that's been completed, I can put together the tax bill information and what the rates are going to be for 2025.
The reason I asked that is the last time this contract went out for proposals, RCC discussed different options, what we recommended be included versus not included. So if it doesn't come before this group, before it goes to the resolution stage, that's kind of late for us to recommend options.
I see. So I guess the intent of this discussion would be to go through what's all included in this RFP and see if there's anything else you would like to include. But you're more saying once we have the prices back.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me think about that.
Well, I like the idea of giving us, consideration, having two people to help review the proposals when they come in. And now we have time to look at this, to give our, review it. I haven't read every single page.
And a lot of it is
I have a couple of
boilerplate kind of
questions.
stuff.
That's what I figured from the last
Similar to what
time.
it was last time.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I don't know if we can make our inputs this way, Tim, individually as we're
Not
reviewing
without
it.
cost information. I don't know if you want to look back to see the schedule the last time that this was done, but I'm fairly certain it went to council in September. And then, I know that was cutting it close because of
Yeah.
budget parts, but
Yeah.
I probably want to move that up to August.
There is still some, I guess, buffer in this timeline that I'm proposing now, because if we did get if we get proposals back by July 1st, we could, take that to the July RCC meeting and discuss it then, and probably get the resolution to council at their first August meeting, which would still be just enough time to get that passed and get the rate set for 2024. So I definitely think we could accommodate, we could do both. We could have two people that maybe are want to get into the weeds a little bit more, and possibly be part of an interview panel. And then we could also bring the proposals to that July RCC meeting for discussion as well, if that's the route that folks would like to go.
I think that sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ben.
How fine grained is the pricing information you're gonna get? Are they gonna tell you, this component is gonna cost this much, this component that much? Is that what you're wanting to discuss?
As I recall, the last time this came out, we had different prices. I think the city staff decided on the vendor. And then we had options within that vendor. One was
Overflow trash or?
unlimited recycling.
Yeah, okay.
I think there was something about the frequency of brush collection,
Okay.
those kinds of things. So, it could be after the vendors decided and those options are presented. It was that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think, that would be valuable. I do anticipate a pretty significant increase to cost of service, just based upon the fact that the contract that was signed for this current cycle, when you look at how much they increased their rates each year, like 2 to 3%, that just didn't really keep up with inflation. So on the back end of that contract, they probably weren't making a lot of money there. And I've looked at, the most recent RFP for these services that I found was Mount Horeb. Just last year, they went through this RFP process, and they had, I would say, fairly comparable services to what Fitchburg offers as far as, every other week recycling, weekly trash pickup. Right now, Fitchburg, for just those two services, it costs about $14 per home per month. The prices that were provided to Mount Horeb, and this was from Waste Management, Palateri, I think LRS, they were all more in the $15 to $16 per home per month. So, 15% higher. I mean, it could be pretty significant. And there's certainly things that the city provides now that could be looked at removing to kind of offset just the natural increase we're going to see just due to inflation. And that's kind of what we can talk about more today. Maybe there's some other, and we've talked about this a little bit in the past as far as, especially the unlimited recycling. We've targeted that as something that, in talking with Palateri, we know that it's really not used that much by residents, and it adds a fairly significant cost. So that's certainly something that,
And a safety issue.
and Palateri has said that they wouldn't, it's not a service that they'll really offer. And frankly, I don't know that other waste haulers would offer that service either. So it is still in this RFP, just because I'm not comfortable with just completely removing it.
We have it set up more as an option.
But it's alternative B.
I think it's a good idea to include it. Let's see where the chips fall on that.
Yeah.
The downside to sending this out is that cost increase, because I think we could probably keep it smaller if we just renewed with Palateri like they have been, their 3% increases or whatever, but, if you think this due diligence to send it out, then that's what we'll do.
Yeah, and that's just, I think, where the comfort level is at with our administrator and finance director. And, you know, people may say you can get a better rate by extending now, but, you know, is that always true, or is that just, you know, and I don't think it hurts to go out to RFP, then you're at least getting costs from other people. You can be confident that, hey, we went out, we looked, we saw what the other options were, and you can justify your selection, I think, a little bit more when you can point to these other proposals.
Is there an ordinance for bidding requirements that say you have to go out to 3 or more if it's over a certain dollar amount?
Yes, so, you know, I don't remember the specific language in the ordinance, but generally they want to see proposals from 3 different vendors. So that's what hopefully we could get more. I mean, the more proposals, the better, but, you know, just thinking about who provides the service in our area, you know, it's, there's only so many, so, and maybe a couple of them don't want to propose and we only get 2. That's just kind of the way it is. Obviously, we of course can't force someone to submit a proposal. Guess any other questions before we kind of scroll through and look at the
I think we can go ahead and do that, and we can
Yeah.
ask your questions after that, so let's get through it.
Okay. So if everyone's okay with it, I'll jump ahead a little bit, unless there's interest in kind of talking about the proposal delivery procedures and some of this other kind of more boilerplate information.
I thought you were gonna say boring.
Well, maybe a little bit of that too.
I think where you start at section 2.4, like the
I'd like
description.
to start at 2.3.
2.3. Oh, you just, description of the refuge program currently.
We don't have the TAG program anymore.
That is what I thought, and that's what I.
So that paragraph and the one, that paragraph and the one beneath it can go, it's my understanding that if a resident needs additional trash picked up, they contact the waste hauler
Yes,
and pay that fee to them.
yes, yep, that's good.
On that paragraph above where it says the contractor is paid by Fitchburg for collection, I would just change that to 1 35-gallon of refuse per week per residential unit. Otherwise, it just sounds like we're only getting 1 35-gallon cart of refuse per week.
Yeah, it's small, it's a small.
Yeah.
Wonder why the city attorney didn't catch that.
Per unit. Excellent.
Where is Hometown Pharmacy?
It's called Fitchburg Family Pharmacy now.
Oh, okay, okay. That one had me confused.
Yeah.
Here's 2.4. So, yeah, we've got, you know, the 3 different options for cart sizes. You know, talks about how participation is mandatory. 65-gallon is the standard size. You know, Fitchburg still is you know, using the single stream collection. So everything just goes into one receptacle. We're not, you know, separating glass and metals and that.
So do we have more than 8 dumpsters for cardboard only now, or what is it still?
So there are 10 right now.
Okay, so it's,
10 8-yard dumpsters for cardboard only. And we still do have the polystyrene dumpsters as well.
So our pricing such that we're flexible to go smaller or bigger than that. I mean, if we staff the site, and similarly we potentially would use less than that number of carts. And if let's say we keep it as is and people, more people are moving to Fitchburg and that have to ramp up more?
So my thought is, we just kind of explain this current program the way it has been with the 10.
Yep.
I'm looking to get some direction back on, I recommended reducing the hours and having it open only, not every day, closing it on Sundays, having it open, Saturday morning. And then once we can finally get that set up and put in place, we'll know pretty soon if we can step back on the dumpsters and renegotiate for the cardboard dumpster services.
So isn't the cost though that we have them emptying the cardboard ones daily? So
Yes, so we could keep 10 and just have them come
Less
2,
frequently.
3 times or something.
yeah, do we own these dumpsters? Is that the city?
No, so
Okay.
these dumpsters are Pelletaries.
So I mean, we make it through the weekends, which, if you go out there on the weekend, like there's constantly cars out there, so I'd argue most of the cardboard is coming out there on the weekend and we can make it through the days of the weekend generally. I don't know how bad it is on Mondays, but, it stands to reason that, on the lesser days when people aren't doing things around their homes as much, that's generally a work week that Monday, Wednesday, Friday pickup could potentially work.
I mean, ideally that would be where we end up as if, first step being reducing some hours, then I really hope down the line getting, being able to staff it, that would only,
So the new contractor will have to provide those recyclable
yes.
containers.
Yep, so they'll
Okay.
have to provide,
Including polystyrene.
kind of those, and yes, the polystyrene dumpster is also provided by Pelletary.
Okay.
Are you still on 2.4?
Yeah, we can,
I didn't understand the part about invasives. We're not collecting invasives there, are we?
so there is, of course, the yard waste drop off, and the oil bin or the oil filter dumpster
Mm-hmm.
has a sign on it that asks people to put their invasives in the oil dumpster wrapped in, a bag and labeled. So the DNR actually recommends certain invasives go to the landfill because they can basically survive the composting process.
Garlic mustard.
Garlic mustard, yep.
So they can drop garlic mustard off at the site as long as it's labeled, it's in a bag and it's labeled?
Yep, they can put it in the oil dumpster.
Or they can put it
Dumpster.
out with their refuse?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know we collected it there. Okay, good.
Just real quick before we continue, did we assign a timekeeper? I missed that.
I am.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to make sure.
It's gonna be tough.
Okay.
So going into yard waste, right now it's 4 times a year. They have to be placed in a bag, not tied, an open bag, or a container that can be reused. I will say I have gotten feedback from residents that wish there was a 5th collection of yard waste in the fall. Just a few people have brought that up to me. So there is a price included in the RFP for 5 pickups and 4 pickups. So, we can see if that's really feasible or something we can do, or if that'll get
Currently have 2 in the fall.
expensive. Yeah,
Two
so
in the
it's
fall.
2 spring, 2 fall.
Yeah.
And I think folks would be interested in 2 in the spring and 3 in the fall.
Ben, on 2.5, the third paragraph, the second line at the end, said that we request that the bags be marked yard waste. I don't think we do that. I think we just ask them to leave the bags open.
Yeah, no, we don't, I haven't heard of that requirement. request. It's usually pretty obvious. I think we can just remove that.
You could maybe put open in front of bags or containers, if you want, but no, we don't, I don't think we have asked people to market yard waste.
Again, the yard waste is collected and then they drop it off at Purple Cow Organics compost site. That's through a separate contract that the city has with Purple Cow.
So if whoever is selected doesn't use Purple Cow, then our contract with Purple Cow goes away?
Well, they would either have to use Purple Cow or we would have to negotiate at a different drop-off location. I don't really foresee any issues with the waste hauler just refusing to bring it to Purple Cow.
You give them that option in here to take it somewhere else, further on.
Yeah, I again, if they don't want to, or if they can do it for cheaper than we can through Purple Cow, I think we'd certainly be open to that, but we would have to just, void the contract with Purple Cow. And that's a good point. I think our current contract with our Purple Cow contracts are 3-year contracts, so they don't perfectly align with these contracts. And I believe the last year of the contract that we're in right now is 2025. So there's a 1 year where we would still have Purple Cow under contract and, potentially a different waste hauler.
Well, that's a consideration when we evaluate this.
I mean, would we still have to pay Purple Cow if we voided the contract? I mean, they may anticipate that revenue coming in.
Yeah, I guess I'd have to discuss that with legal.
I don't think you can void it.
What's that?
I don't think you can void it.
Yeah.
I think we would be stuck with it.
I'm not sure what language is in the contract. There may be some kind of an opt-out clause or something.
And is there it didn't mention it in here, but when they collect brush, is there a height restriction? Because somebody who lives in my neighborhood, last year, I saw them taking their brush pile, which the dimensions were fine, except they were told it was too high. And they were hoping the waste hauler would come back because they were trying to make it into smaller stacks. There isn't a height limit, is there?
I'm not aware of one.
Okay. Well, it took them a lot of work to get their brush down. So if I see her doing that again, I'll tell her she doesn't have to do that.
14 brush collections throughout the year, quite a few. When we get into the options, we'll get prices for 8 collections, 10 collections, 12 collections, 14 collections. I think reducing the number of brush collections could be a potential way to reduce the overall cost of the contract. I'm not familiar with any other municipality that offers 14 brush pickups. And also in discussion with Mark Hodel, the streets department, we feel that we could accept brush at the drop-off site, just to give people an additional option if we were to reduce it. I'm not sure.
Don't you now accept brush at
Yard waste, but not
It's
brush.
yard waste, but people aren't supposed to bring brush.
Oh.
It ends up, I don't wanna say it doesn't matter, but what's that? Under thumb size is kind of the guidelines, and people are, I would say generally pretty good about that, but the reality is it all gets ground up, and the equipment that the city, grinds it with really, you can put something in much larger and it Yeah, well, right. But that's why we, in discussing with Mark, we felt that it would be, something doable to allow brush if we were to reduce the number of brush pickups.
Yeah, maybe to offset the yard waste up to 5, then you bring brush down to 10. And we had figured out a schedule at one point because this was on the table probably, 10 years ago?
Same time we discussed limiting recyclables, yeah.
So when that was on the table, we had brought it down to 10 and actually worked out a schedule. Like you barely even noticed that, those 2 collections were gone. But it did not, it did not pass that way. We kept it at that, 12 brush pickups, but I think this is something to consider. So I'm glad to hear that you're getting pricing for the different options. I think that's good thinking.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who does the pickup for holiday trees for residential, single-family homes?
That is city staff. And
So it just says here from apartment complexes, it doesn't say residential.
Where are you?
On
End of
2.6 on the
2.6.
brush, at the last
The
one.
last paragraph, 2.6.
Has
I was reading that too, and I just saw, just apartment complexes, and that made me wonder who was picking up the residential.
Yeah, so residential trees are collected by the city.
But it doesn't say, I think they're suggesting that,
It doesn't
It
say,
makes it seem like maybe they aren't. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. That's
because I kept thinking, well,
confusing.
maybe there's a pickup in January for Pelletary when they pick up the.
oh, no. This paragraph is talking about apartment complexes over 5 units.
Yeah.
And this contract, I mean, you pick it up for everybody, but in addition, you pick it up for
Right.
4 units. Okay,
Separately. Oh, I see what you're saying.
that's what it's,
I think maybe that.
There could be additional clarification.
Yeah, I think.
I don't even know why that's in there, because we're not talking about them collectively.
Yeah, it's really not relevant at all.
Yeah.
This doesn't have anything to do with apartment complexes,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, that just might confuse the whole issue.
yeah, that sentence could probably just.
But it sounds like it is worth it to keep the mention of holiday tree brush collection in there, just say that it's not their responsibility, it's
So
the
they know
city's.
that they don't have to do it.
Yeah.
Right. That eliminates confusion, I agree.
Alright. And then, of course, there's some exhibits that just outline the municipal facilities, bus stops. And actually, I've got to strike this special event collection. The city had previously done collection for Festa Italia under this contract, but we're not gonna do that anymore.
And what about the art fair? Does the city not collect for that either?
No.
Okay. So they have to arrange their own waste hauler, and same thing with Festa Italia. Okay.
So it specifically says weekly recycling collection services for municipal properties. What about like the dumpsters, for instance, at McKee Farms Park? I presume there are other dumpsters elsewhere in the city.
Yes, so, I don't recall exactly what the frequency of pickup is for those dumpsters, but, what city staff does, they collect the recycling bins, that are in the park, and then they dump those all out into the dumpster, and then Pelletary just has to pick up the dumpster at one location rather than having to go to all the different locations throughout the parks.
How do they lift the recycling cart, how do they lift that into there?
They're very strong.
Yeah, I think just
Now, this seems like a workers' comp issue.
brute force, or maybe they,
Do they have a special machine like that Pelletary's truck?
I don't think so.
I didn't know they did that, okay.
Since we're gonna probably be talking about this item, I'd like to make a motion that we move items 4B and 4C until the next month meeting, so we can have plenty of time to spend on this one.
Well, we can if we run out of time, or we can.
Well, we're already out of time now, so.
Well, we're out of time on this item, but we may catch up.
I'm gonna have a couple of big comments here shortly.
Okay.
that I don't know if we will discuss or not.
All right.
I mean, if everyone's comfortable with that.
Sorry, what are those?
The med drop and the soul mark.
The So Smart,
Yeah.
I don't know if anything's permanent on those in the next
Yeah.
month.
no,
Okay.
all right. Need a motion?
Yeah, I made a motion that we remove items 4B and 4C to the next monthly meeting in June.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Ben, are you opposed? You want to get out of this discussion?
This is an important one.
Yeah. Motion carried.
So hugely important, and we spend a lot of time on this commission talking about renewable energy percentages and similar, but the greenhouse gases associated with collecting, managing, handling, life cycle of trash, recyclables, organics is huge. Everything from the diesel being burned in the trucks to the emissions from the compost site, Purple Cow, to fugitive emissions at the landfill. And I'm not saying right now, but I think big things like this, it's an opportunity to put metrics behind how much greenhouse gases are we emitting because we are picking up this garbage, what's being emitted from the landfill, from the organics, and can we, in this contract or future contracts, try to minimize our environmental emissions by incentivizing or somehow managing this, maybe incentivization for waste haulers that use biodiesel instead of just regular diesel, or use electric vehicles for their gas truck collection. And I'm not sure that this can start right now. I think the very first thing is you kind of get the metrics for how much greenhouse gases are associated with doing what we're doing right here. And in the future, should we have some goals? Say we have, because of our gas recycling, compost collection, managing, transportation handling, we're emitting X kilograms per household per year. And maybe we can set a goal to reduce that in future years by doing different things. So this is a comprehensive strategy that every municipality is doing this. And is there opportunity here to reduce our impact by doing this in a more energy, environmentally friendly way?
I think that's a good point, and that's one of the arguments we made for reducing brush collections way back when. I think we have a more supportive council now, but also in your RFP, you've asked them to put down the kind of vehicles they have and the fuel that they use, and I think there's an opportunity to weight the RFPs accordingly. If they're using CNG or electric vehicles or whatever they're using in the evaluation process, I think we can take that into consideration.
At the very minimum, we can add in a non-financial component. So what are you doing to be more energy sustainable in this process? And so possible to do a qualifications-based contract in addition to the financial metrics. That adds some complications in how you review people because it gets more subjective. But maybe at the start, you just ask them, what are you doing to minimize your emissions in this process? Maybe it doesn't get evaluated this time, but it starts to set the stage. Plants to see that we may want to see contractors that are using biodiesel from Dane County landfill, or are investing in fleets that are electrified, whatever the case may be. And so maybe this is the time to start, hey, we are interested in this and we want to know what you're doing, and we may want to improve this in the near future.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. I think that could be probably an additional section added. I like your idea of having kind of a non-financial component and
What's their sustainability plan
Right.
regards this, or whatever the case may be?
Regards to their fleet.
Sets the stage
right.
for their
Keep it pretty
fleet.
simple.
Yeah, so, landfills are the third largest anthropogenic source of methane in the United States. And that doesn't count all of the diesel getting the garbage to the facilities. If you add all of that and all of the upstream, downstream stuff, it gets pretty substantial. So this is a big area of opportunity.
Are landfills rated or graded on how environmental friendly they are?
No.
Does the landfill for Dane
Not
County reclaim any of that methane?
Yes, they do.
Yes, for sure.
You should take
I
a
mean, do
tour
they
of it,
have
it's pretty fascinating. Dane County, I think, is US-wide, on the leading edge of sustainability in that respect.
So it actually provides a lot of revenue to the county. The gas that they're sending into the pipeline is renewable natural gas.
Okay.
It's, that's what the plant is doing, is it's cleaning up and purifying that gas to go into the pipeline. So it's taking it out of the landfill and going through the treatment in the plant and then going back in the pipeline. They also accept some offloading there.
Through operations that he's designing. And, so the United States Environmental Protection Agency only requires landfills to estimate how much emissions that they have based on their tonnages and percent carbon and things like that. And it's just it's a wild guess. And there's no penalties, you just report it, but in the future it's changing.
I mean, could there be a requirement in this RFP that they take it to landfills that, can handle methane?
Well, I mean, landfills are supposed to have an active gas extraction system to extract the gas out of
But
it.
to reuse it though, landfill that reuses it.
Maybe we ask them which landfill they'll be using.
Well, they haven't identified it here, it says.
And that would be another weighted item. Like I said, Dane County's on the leading edge. And for any new members who haven't toured Dane County, it really is worth the time.
I'm not a landfill person, so.
I didn't think I was either, but it's pretty cool. Yeah.
So what's the primary source of the methane at a landfill? I'm imagining people just not composting, because everything else is,
Yeah, so methane in landfill comes from one of two. So initially, over the first 3 or 4 months, it's aerobic digestion of the organics, and those are usually captured and burned off or flared off because they're in new parts of the landfill. And then you get about 6 to 9 months, it gets into methanegenesis, and that's where you get more optimum methane production, much
What are they feeding
steady. They don't feed anything. It's bugs that eat, that use organics as their energy source, and their byproducts are carbon dioxide and methane. So methanegenesis in 42 degrees Celsius is ideal, which is about where landfills are kept. They're producing about 50 to 55% methane in that gas, and the rest is carbon dioxide and nitrogen and similar. And that is valuable, not only because it's a natural gas, it's a fuel that we can use and we do use, but also because there's substantial tax credits in the California markets. Dane County specifically has a contract with Quick Trip that buys their credits for their gas. So anyway, it's just a huge, we care so much, and we've spent a decade leading, you've led these efforts on renewable energy, and let's get our renewable energy efficiency out. Let's start at the base and let's think about how we can make this better for the environment. That's what I'm saying, and maybe at first we just ask contractors what they're doing, but in next year, maybe we say, all right, we wanna push you and select people that do it better.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion.
Jim.
Excellent. So I think that we could definitely add something in this general instructions section and basically,
What section are you looking at, Ben?
I'm just in 3.1 now,
Okay,
talking about the proposal package. But I would think we would, fit something in here where we come up maybe with a list of specific questions that we would want to ask the contractor, just sustainability related.
I would leave it open-ended, I would make it like an essay. So we don't exclude, maybe they'll be thinking they'll be thinking beyond the box, however that expression goes. I would just say
We don't just say some minimum things that they at minimum have to touch
Some
on.
examples.
A few different items and then,
Get them on somewhat the same page.
yeah, I want to be able to somewhat compare.
Okay,
And you can even just state with the paragraph, the city of Fitchburg cares about our emissions associated with collection, transportation, handling, and ultimate disposal of our municipal solid waste or recycling our brush and debris.
Could that be an opening sentence at 3.5 there? Or you kind of have something like that starting?
Possibly, and say, as such,
Yeah.
we are interested in collecting from you how your company calculates and minimizes the environmental footprint for doing this contract.
you might want to repeat that more than once, Ben, because in your checklist, you might want to include that also, so they don't miss it with all the other verbiage.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Awesome.
And I think that Fitchburg can be a leading community on this issue. We got the expertise in the room to help.
We sure do. Are we ready to jump further ahead? I have something on 11.7.
Yeah, sorry, that was a global thing that I wanted to say. And
Those are good points, no.
On 11.7, where we're talking about the possibility of organics collection, I thought a 35 gallon for organics seemed awfully large.
Mm-hmm. It is large.
Let's see.
But it might have been the smallest size they had available. And then I don't know if you can get smaller with the arms to
Oh, to pick up?
pick them up if they get smaller.
Ooh, that's a good point. It's got a.
But we had like the 35 gallons when we did the pilot back in 2012, 2013.
Did we? Was that picked up weekly?
It was,
Okay.
but it was, it's not that they weren't that full.
No.
At all. We didn't need all of that. We didn't need 35 gallons, and space starts to become a premium in people's garages with that. So we made it work, but I know a lot of people, can't keep all their containers in their garage as it is, so adding another one in there, it's gonna be a challenge, even if it is only the 35 gallon cart.
I don't know how you can change that, Ben, without knowing what's available, but
Surely there must be other cities that have this
couldn't this be
program.
handled as an amendment to the contract rather than the speculation now?
It could be. I kind of like the idea of getting the cost now, to hold them to it.
I think 20 pounds a week of organics, I don't know how many households could generate 20 pounds a week.
I think, maybe a household with some kids and, 4 or 5 people. I think people, really throw a lot of food away.
I should weigh
Like
my,
reduce that.
I've got like maybe a 2 gallon
Mm-hmm.
container that I put my compost in, and I probably empty it 3 times every 2 weeks or something. And
Yeah,
it's-
we empty ours
Same
once a
here, yeah.
week. And it's the same, I would be surprised if it weighs more than 2 pounds.
You might be able to.
Yeah, you probably are doing a better job of, using the food and not wasting it,
Well,
then.
that's
yeah.
Mine is 2 pounds every time I bring a pineapple home from the grocery store.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think we could tweak this a little bit. You know, if we just get them, that's a good point about the 35 gallon thing. I mean, if we just have them assume 35 gallons and they do have a different option for a cart size, then we're just gonna have to do an amendment anyways, for a smaller cart, so. Maybe I could add another column for a different cart size. Or just,
I mean, I don't know, I mean, this is where I don't know, I haven't seen anything out there where you have a smaller cart size that is gonna work with a collection truck.
yeah, I should.
Maybe there are, I mean, maybe we could do a little bit of preliminary research on that.
Yeah, I could call around and just ask, how small of a cart can you do with your truck?
The Dane County site isn't going to be operational until, at the earliest, 2025, right?
Yeah, probably later.
2025, 2026, I would say more likely.
I don't know, Ben, you might wanna just handle this as an amendment, because that affects so many things. It affects fuel, affects whatever they charge. Food for thought.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of, you know, trying to understand organics, but we may be getting just a little bit ahead of ourselves, and it may be more appropriate to handle it as a, I guess, you know, I'm curious on I'm curious on the containers, but.
Well, maybe I'll just check, maybe I'll just simplify it and just have a box that they can check, just to make sure they would be willing to do it.
Yeah, I think it's more of that.
You know, we would like to
What type of
participate
cart
in that.
size are you anticipating would be?
So not getting a price, just making sure that whoever we select would be willing to do it, and then, like you say, how they would propose to do it with their cart size, and they use the same kind of trucks or whatever. All right, I like that.
And I always compost in my backyard, so I've never had to deal with putting something in the garage in the summer when my garage gets very
It's
warm.
smelly. I mean, you gotta rinse that, and we had to rinse ours
Yeah,
out.
I'm
few
wondering
times in
if
the
there's a
summer.
way to get a smaller container that people could keep inside where it's climate controlled and then could be set on top of their normal trash bin or something, so that, you know, they can come around and pick up the thing off the top of the 35 gallon trash container to deal with the organics.
I like the idea, you know, I just don't know how to
Yeah.
feasibly do that.
Right, well,
Yeah,
yeah, but a 35 gallon container just for organics seems
That's a tough.
implausible at best.
Ben, under your municipal facilities, there are several parks that are missing. And I know that they have refuse containers. So,
Yeah, I'll have to talk with Scott Endel to see if he'd like, anyone's added onto this contract. I do not know why some are and some aren't. I know that that staff picks up trash from parks.
oh, okay.
So that if they're not on this contract, they're being picked up by staff. I don't know how they determine we want staff to do this park and Pelletier or whoever to do this park, but that's a good point. I should chat with Scott Endel to see if he'd like to add any parks.
That's a good question, because we have several parks in our subdivision, and I wonder who picks up the trash there? There's both recycling and green containers out there.
Yeah, it could very well be
Well, it
staff.
looks like Pelletier does it in our area, because on trash day, they're out there open, you know, their lids are open and stuff, so.
Yeah, I mean, it looks, generally speaking, it's the larger parks that are on here with McGaw, McKee, the dog park. But yeah, there's, of course, many more parks than just what's on this
Yeah, I
list.
kind of wonder who brings them to the curbside too.
Yeah, well,
it's a good question. I don't know.
Did you? I see what
I do in our neighborhood, Ron.
you have any other questions? I have a
That's
couple.
all I had.
Can you scroll up to section 11.1, refuse collection pricing?
Yes. Let me try to.
Page 53 of that packet. Oh, there you go. What, okay, approximate cost of exhibit 1 says 49 cents per year, but exhibit 1 is huge. What is that?
So these are numbers based on this contract, or on the current contract. Basically, the way that the contractor chose to fill out their bid form, they're definitely making money or getting paid for those services, but they just kind of spread the cost out to do that across some of these other services. So they could say that they were doing it for 49 cents for the whole year. So they didn't break out that price specifically, they just kind of spread it across these other services. Which actually brings up a good point, because it would actually be good to know the actual cost.
Are you saying that the actual cost is showing up in the refuse unit price?
Yeah, and it's impossible to say, Todd did provide us with an estimate when we asked how much he thought it cost to provide these services, or at least the recycling center. So they would tell us if we asked, but.
But they're using it as a loss leader.
Yeah, it's to say that they're gonna do all these for 50 cents and then, but it's definitely, broken out across other.
It's like free parking, it's not free.
Yeah,
Nothing is.
Yep, so that was just the way that they chose to fill out this bid form.
I have a question on 4.26, data collection, reporting, and cart inventory management. There's a lot of great data that's being collected as part of the contract, and it looks like they submit it monthly to you, and you compile that data. How is that? To me, it seems like it would be great if we could have them put together some type of an annual summary of all that information, instead of having you guys.
They actually do. So on their last report of the year, which comes in January for December, they always send me a spreadsheet that basically breaks out, it's this many number 1 plastics, this weight of, so it separates out, the weights for all the different materials each month. And then with the last one of the year, they do summarize it at the end of the spreadsheet. So they
Have
are.
you seen that information? I just don't remember it.
I think I've shared it before, maybe not recently. I definitely shared, that's where I got some of the cardboard information from,
And the brush.
and the brush stuff.
Because we have a statement here, the data shall be used for, sharing with the public to keep them aware of, how, effective our program is.
Yeah, so these are the numbers that the city submits to the DNR as part of the annual reporting. So that's kind of how, we came up with this information. The information that we request from Pelletary is essentially the information we need to be submitting to the DNR on an annual basis. And it's pretty good data as far as, it's broken down. It's not just refuse and recycling. They break out the different, items like cardboard versus plastics versus metals and, number of brush loads. So it is fairly.
Maybe you can send that out.
Yeah, I can share
Send that out to
that.
us.
Yeah.
That was kind of interesting to see that. Do they give any indication on contamination levels? Are they not looking at it?
So
There's kind of.
That report does not, but we're supposed to they're supposed to do a waste audit, right? And I don't think,
we haven't done
is
one.
that, is that in here?
It is in here.
Okay, I didn't see that.
It gives us the option to do a waste audit. I think it might be in the innovation and studies section
I think we
perhaps.
maybe did one before we were with Pelletary, we did one, on our own, like Rick Eilerson led the effort.
Sure.
In the salt shed?
And weighed it all out and did a full-on waste sort out there, and that was, but I don't think we've gotten that data for a while, and I think.
So I can tell you what the contamination rate is at the Pelletary Kip Street station.
That includes all the other municipalities.
And they can't break it out. I've asked, they can't get it just for Fitchburg. It is like, it's about 15%. It's about 15%.
Wasn't it through the waste audit when it's hot out?
Yeah.
When it's cold?
Fall would be,
Well, November.
yeah.
November would be a good time to do
Yeah.
it. I mean, I think the option, it would be good information to see, then we can kind of focus our outreach efforts on things that we're seeing based on that. But it seems like it's more of, we would do that more on our own if we wanted to take that one on.
Well, they were there helping.
Oh, they would help out.
They
I see.
were there. I remember I found a six pack
Yeah.
of beer. And one of the guys, it was unopened. One of the guys offered to take it off my hands.
That's funny.
Only for you, man.
Pardon me?
Only for you.
Yeah.
Ben, where in here is the discussion about our recycling program, coming up and helping with the paper shredding and
That's in here, I saw that.
I didn't get a chance
Yeah.
to review everything.
It said that the current race hauler provides two confidential paper shredding events per year.
Okay,
One in,
Birthdays and Halloween.
around there, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I
I'll
wanna
make
say-
sure that wasn't missed.
I want to say Brian Johnson with the city of Madison, they have like a annual waste, but they maybe just get the same information that we are. But I feel like they have something written into their contract to evaluate contamination, but I understand that we can't separate that out from.
Yeah, because theirs goes to Kip Street too, Madison's
So
recyclables.
then they're just getting kind of. a
So I
general
don't know
report
what
as
they'd
well.
be getting, probably something similar to us, I would imagine.
Okay.
Is that in section 11, the price quotes?
I can't
Asking for that?
I can't remember where I saw it, but I did see it.
The paper shredding is in 6.5.
Well, we don't have them asked to put a quote on that, or?
No, we just,
It just says the previous contractor provided 2 free confidential
Yeah,
paper
and
shredding
I think we should
events.
leave it like that.
Okay, 6.5.
Wasn't there an issue that they were mentioning when we had, maybe it was the fall event?
Well, last fall, the fellow who oversaw the paper shredding said that the contract only had one in there. But he was
And it's not in their
mistaken.
second one.
He was mistaken.
yeah, it doesn't,
And I think the last
Okay.
time we went for RFP, we asked everybody to provide it, and Pelletary was providing, that was never asked, they just volunteered to do that, and suddenly it was a requirement, and that kind of ruffled a few feathers. But I like the way it's worded in here. Do we still have in here, and I didn't see this part, it's probably there, but did they provide us with a complaint log? And Pelletary is doing that.
Complaint, what?
When a resident calls and says.
Oh, I saw something in here, complaints.
yeah,
Okay,
there's pickups and complaints.
that just talks about resolving them, but it doesn't say that they're reporting it, I don't think.
Do they have, do the trucks have cameras on them?
They do.
Yes.
Okay.
Just make sure, Ben, that and I don't know if you're getting those now, we haven't seen those for quite a while, but they used to send them monthly, so you could stay on top of if there were any issues.
Yeah, and I guess we both keep a complaint log then.
So are they sending one to you?
I've never asked for one.
Because sometimes people might call you, but sometimes people call directly to Pelletieri, so they're supposed to be doing that.
Yeah, I'll have to ask for that.
And that also should be, I don't see it off the top of my head, that's in here.
It's 4.22.
No, that talks about handling it, but it doesn't talk about sending you a log.
It
Does
says,
it?
yeah,
Oh, it does?
it's in
Okay.
the second to last paragraph of 4.22.
Oh, I hadn't gotten to that one yet, okay. Oh, okay,
4.22.
yeah.
Missed pickups and complaints. Page 28 of the, or page 33 of the packet.
We're past our extended time.
Okay.
But, yeah. 5
Do we have
minutes.
any other additional comments? One thing before we close this out, I'd like to find out who in the commission would like to volunteer to help review the RFP. And I think we should have 2 people from the commission. Anybody want to volunteer?
I would like to do that.
Okay, Diane?
Could be in the mix
Okay,
on that as well.
I'm gonna be traveling, so.
okay. That'd be great.
Great, so
Chris and Diane,
Chris back.
perfect. Thank you. So any other discussion on the RFP? I mean, we'll have time to review this and we can get comments back to Ben if we see anything.
Yeah,
That needs to
absolutely.
be noted.
Feel free to just shoot me an email if there's anything else that you think of.
You're sending this out at the end of the month?
Yeah, that's the plan to the 27th to release it.
Yeah, right. Due in July.
Well, if there's no more discussion, I think I'll just, so I already mentioned that I did change the brush pickup to get options for 8, 10, 12, and 14. There's also an additional optional service. It's curbside bulk item pickup. So there are some communities that will have, once or twice a year, a day or a week where residents can set out bulk items to be picked up.
Mattresses and stuff like that.
Yup, mattresses, sofas, yup, to be picked up at no additional charge to them. I don't know if this had been considered in the past seriously.
We talked about that at one RCC meeting.
I feel like it was more with the city inspectors. We talked about it. With them, maybe not.
Well, and I know they spend a lot of time dealing with items that have been disposed of at the curb and getting people to get rid of them. So that's probably what drove this.
I mean, now you have to make a phone call, don't you?
You do,
And, well, it's a user fee.
yes.
So that's an option on there, how much that would cost, correct?
Yes.
I noticed, and I know that we're already over time, but it was on the news tonight that apparently some lacrosse organization, or maybe students, I'm not sure, or maybe a student organization, went around because students are moving out, and they collected those kind of household things and took them to the Habitat Restore. Yeah, so that they could be reused, which, if we did something like that, maybe we would contact Habitat Restore and have them do the collection.
Yeah, I said lacrosse. I'll have to look.
It was lacrosse, yeah.
Interesting. All right, that's all I've got.
Okay, let's move on to item, let's see here, item 5A. Old business, review Fitchburg Star article schedule. Andrew, before we get started on that, Andrew, I'd just like to say, I think everyone saw the survey that was done for the city of Fitchburg. And one of the questions was, how do you like to receive city information? Top score, Fitchburg Star, 59%.
Yeah,
That was surprising.
I was actually very surprised to see that.
The importance of the star.
Yeah.
Does that, Bill, as the council discussed resuming their payment to the Star so we can start getting it, we can start getting the city's page back and getting it distributed to everybody?
Yeah, I feel like we did, like, a year plus ago, the Fitchburg Star wasn't making its way to every household. And like the city reached out and got nothing back and then decided, okay, maybe we're gonna break ties with the Fitchburg Star, and then the Fitchburg Star got back, and so I think that contract has been renewed. But at the organizational meeting last month, we said the official newspaper for the city was the State Journal.
I think that's legal for legal
Yes,
purposes,
It
but
is.
we still don't have it, the city page is still not there. And that's, I mean, if the council authorized resuming payment to the Star, then we need the city page back. We, the RCC uses the Star a lot to communicate with residents about what's going on. So how do we find out the status of this?
I can bring that, we got a council meeting tomorrow, I can ask the city administrator.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed in the last Star, I got bumped again.
Yeah, you did.
Got bumped again by Mr. Parisi, that county.
This month's issue?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was
geez.
from the county exec, for Joe Parisi, I mean, that's how you'll excuse that, right?
Yeah. I don't know if my article will come out next month. Who had
Resend it, I mean,
Well-
like, you maybe wanna resend it.
Yeah,
I think you can just check with them to make
I'm
sure
gonna
you still
check
got
with
it.
them,
I think Andrew had June, or was maybe planning to write something for June, so maybe that's July now.
Well, I guess it doesn't make sense.
Well, actually, could I ask a question? I thought I had emailed Diane this, but maybe I didn't since I knew she was turning this over, but I was looking at doing an article on plastic-free July, and so trying to determine if June would be the best time or the July,
Well, it doesn't
the
come
month
out,
of July.
the Star, if you send that to me, I didn't receive it, but the July Star doesn't come out until the middle of the month.
Like,
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, so I guess I'm requesting unless somebody has a more timely article, could I do the month of June?
That's fine with me.
So Kim, you want to do June then?
Well, I mean, I would like to if that works out with others' schedules, because it would be about promoting plastic-free July.
Right in the springtime.
Yeah.
We'll just hold that for next year.
What was
Yeah,
that?
we'll just hold it for next year,
Just hold it for next year.
yeah. Okay.
Ron said that his
I'm sorry,
article,
Ron, I didn't hear that. What was yours?
Well, mine was about getting your garden ready in the springtime, pre-planting.
Oh,
So we can hold it till next year.
or I could come up with a different topic.
No, June, you can have
Do
June.
it later.
Yeah, June is fine. I mean, we're supposed to come out in
Okay.
March, but the mayor took that spot.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, maybe I'll reach out to the Fitchburg Star just to let them know then that I would be doing the June article.
Perfect.
I think that you can just have it ready and send it in, and maybe, Andy, if you can reach out and let him know that we're gonna hold off on Ron's article until next year.
Sure.
Okay, sounds good.
And I think deadline is usually they want the article they want it the first Friday of the month because they said the Star comes out the second Friday. So
Yeah, okay,
So who has
all
July?
right, I'll get going on that.
Jim, are you doing something?
Well, since I opened my mouth about trash, I think we should talk about what happens to your trash, and we can talk about the emissions, the Dane County, and just other, just what happens, it doesn't disappear.
Did you write an article about that, Chris?
I don't think I've written an article about that. I wrote an article about food waste earlier this year.
Okay, I just didn't wanna,
Actually, your article was probably the last one that was published, right?
Next February. Was on.
Somebody was after me.
Yeah, the last one, yeah.
okay.
All right.
Yeah, so July, August, whenever, I can talk trash.
You can trash talk?
That could be the title, let's talk
trash.
Yeah, let's talk trash.
I like that.
No, I've already trademarked it, so, I was on Wisconsin Public Radio in the morning show with Joy Cardine, and I ended it with a great talking trash with you. And she had to step back, and then she realized what I meant. Chuckle out of it. Actually, I got a couple calls on that from people in industry. Hey, great.
All right.
It'd be nice to have one on cycling. And
Who are you hinting to?
Bill.
Bill, just so that you know, we committed to 9 articles
Okay.
in the Star, and we've got guidelines from the Star about, the length and different things like that. But last year, I think we only missed maybe 2 months at that. This year's unusual because March, we had, the election, and instead of having the election, the mayor wrote an article, and then Joe Parisi had this article, so, I mean, the Star is happy to get as many articles as we want to write.
Sure, less work for them.
Well, they've been really good about, it's a good way for us to reach the public, and actually my article got some attention from my neighborhood association, so some people are reading it.
Okay.
So, Jim, do you want July or August?
Whatever. Probably prefer August, so I'm gonna be traveling
Okay.
5 of the next 6 weeks.
So then Andrew would have July.
Yep, I'll take July.
I'll do something for September, unless somebody wants that month. I'm not sure what it would be yet, but.
Won't be on prepping your garden.
What's that?
It won't be on prepping your garden.
No.
No, it won't.
Prepping your garden for winter.
Winter, yeah. Taking down your garden.
Prepping your hoop house.
Yeah. Okay. Any more discussion? Item 5A? If not, we can move on to 5B. Just a recap of the spring recycling and waterway cleanup event.
Yes, so first of all, anyone that was helping out, big thanks. You'll know that it was very successful as far as just number of people, number of cars that were coming through.
I don't know how many of you know, but one of the local TV stations apparently announced it. So I think that's why we had, I haven't seen a line like that for shredding in many years, but yeah.
It was just nonstop.
We had some people from as far away as DeForest coming to
Yeah.
bring their papers. So it was a busy day.
Yeah.
It was, and we ended up with over 10,000 pounds of paper, which is the most since it looks like 2021. There was also about 10,000 pounds or so of paper.
Which is right after we went for a year without
Yeah,
doing
sure.
it, yeah.
And then as far as electronics, that was, kind of a typical year, just over 12,000 pounds. So another, really good turnout.
Do you coordinate that with the electronics people?
Yes.
Well, one complaint. I had to come early because I was doing the shredding, and I had a couple of electronics to drop off, and all the electronics people were all set up and just talking. And so I asked if I could just give that to them because I had to go up to the shredding. And he was quite put out. He said, we don't start until 8 o'clock. And I explained that I was volunteering. And my complaint isn't about that. My complaint is if they're all set up, why, and we had a line of cars waiting, why can't they just start early?
I thought they normally do start a little bit earlier.
They do. That is a good point. I do not know why they didn't this time. It was the same group of
It's the same group
too.
of people, yeah.
And usually when I stop and drop off my stuff, they're, oh, fine, we'll take that. But they were a little bit unreceptive, so.
Okay, well, that's good to note.
Can give it to Vivian or Ben, because we're normally there at the beginning. I threw a few things of mine in right at the beginning too, but,
Well, hopefully I won't have any more to give you, but.
I wouldn't see that as a regular occurrence from you. If you have a little something next time, let us know, we can just take it down.
Yeah, not a big deal at all. And then of course there was no med drop this year. So the first year no med drop, didn't seem to be any issues. I don't know if
We did have some.
did you
Yeah.
up by you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. And then the waterway cleanup event. We changed the date. Didn't get a whole lot of help from Mother Nature. It was pretty cold out there that
It
morning.
snowed on me.
Yeah, but we've got some nice pictures sent in. Here's Ron's group. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
good
like
amount.
8 people,
Ben,
Yeah.
where did you promote this? What sites? Because I didn't know that my site was gonna be promoted, and so I decided to head out a little bit, my group, to head out a little bit later, and there were already people there. I would have been there earlier had I known, but whatever site you put it on apparently garnered some attention, so.
It was just on the city's general webpage, Facebook, Twitter, or X. I think Phil.
Talking Fitchburg headline.
Talking Fitchburg. Phil had it in a green e-newsletter. And,
All the sites? I don't remember that.
just maybe a link to the
Okay,
webpage, and then that was it for the most part, and then just some flyers around the civic campus, library, senior center, city hall.
these were new people that I haven't seen help before, so that whatever you did worked nicely.
Well, good.
Yeah, these were new people to mine too. I've never seen them before.
Well, I'm glad to hear you guys.
Yeah, I need some help. I need some help in Quarry Hill. It was just myself, which was fine. I got everything all picked up. I got about a couple bags pulled together, but I posted all of the sites and linked it to the City of Fitchburg page on Next Door Neighbor. I promoted it within our neighborhood association and our Facebook page, but we used to have a very active group of neighbors, but they've just really kind of died off the last couple of years.
Literally?
Oh, sorry, no, not literally, but they just haven't been as active.
Maybe it was the weather, because it was really chilly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Was.
Well, you didn't work
Yeah.
hard enough, you gotta work up some.
Well, I had donuts and snacks.
Oh, yeah.
Attracted people.
Yeah, I mean, I think considering for the most part, turnout was pretty good. I just got a little postcard in the mail from the city of Madison the other day, and they kind of had it was like a stormwater kind of postcard, and they listed out some events and stuff that they were gonna have later in the year. Well, that was a pretty nice idea. You know, if we were able to set these dates, you know, for the shred event and the pickup, you know, maybe a little bit more in advance, we could do some kind of a postcard mailing, you know, maybe just something to think about.
Well, if we get the star back, we can just put it in
That
there.
would be ideal, yeah.
I noticed one thing that was missing is that usually we get a little thing we put on the bag, say this trash is being picked up by the city. I didn't see any in my bag, I don't know if anybody else had them.
I maybe have lost those, but.
Because I put them there and I kept thinking, well, I
That's a
need
good point, yeah.
so people know.
I can print some more.
Yeah, I
so
know I've
it's not
gotten
just,
called in before, somebody took my license plate and sent it in. Just dumping all this trash at the park.
You can go talk to the judge.
So,
And
I
actually,
mean,
we could just do like
People
the
kind
other
of-
signs like we had for the Saltwise. We could just use them from one year to the
oh,
next.
yeah, that'd be easy enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
like
think the
that.
last ones were laminated, weren't they, or something, we just tied them to a bag.
Yeah, we could just get a yard sign,
Yeah.
pop it in
yeah,
there,
that'd
that'd
be
be
pretty
easy.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did notice, Kim, that our attendance was down in Swan Creek from what it had been. I mean, I think we had peaked out at like 20 to 25 volunteers a couple of years, but we were back down to like more like the 12 to 13 range, which was okay. You know, I blame some of that on the weather, but you know, I have noticed the last couple of years that the attendance has been back down again for whatever reason.
Yeah, well, we've had a lot of turnover in our neighborhood too with people moving out. And I think our neighborhood association just needs to kind of do some flyering around the neighborhood about, you know, events and ways they can get information. So
Well, another thought.
I'll look into that.
We tackled more sites than we usually, I mean, in the past, we maybe tackled 2 or 3. And we're really maybe we're just spreading ourselves too thin.
Yeah,
Something to think about for next year.
yeah, that is a good thought. I think, you know, originally my thought was maybe if you have more, you would have some people that could maybe be able to just walk or bike to whatever the closest area is near them, versus, you know, potentially having to.
Burn some gas to get to the.
Yeah. But yeah, that might be, you know, contributing to spreading it out a little bit.
Something to talk about next year.
Yeah.
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 Is there somebody that cleans up the roadways, particularly along Fish Hatchery? Because for a while, it was really trashy, particularly by Pick and Save.
I mean, in the road?
Well, along the side of the road. By Pick and Save, there were like full garbage, white garbage bags along the side of the outside of their building, over that wall that they have there, visible from the road. And it was there for like almost a month, and I kept driving by and going, why isn't somebody picking that up or complaining about it? And then like a couple of weeks ago, they are all gone. Everything was picked up and clean. Fish hatchery was clean, no debris or anything.
Well, I know the street sweeper came by, but I don't think that they.
No, this
were
is like,
picking
you know,
those
like
bags.
garbage bags and stuff that get blown around and litter after the snow is gone. Because it looks pretty bad. I mean, that's,
Wasn't that your
when I was the
introductory?
introduction to the RCC, I was complaining, why do people drive to Fitchburg and they see all this trash on the road?
So then I think somebody called me and said, Chris, can you go check it out? And I like drove up and down. I'm like, gosh, it looks pretty darn clean along Fish Hatchery. I don't know if
Somebody must have cleaned it up or
Somebody
complained.
must have cleaned it up.
I was gonna complain to Pick and
So, like,
say,
it seems like-
Yeah, I don't know if that could have been the county, since it's a county highway that
Loudon County Highway.
Yeah.
Okay. I've seen, you know, it looks like county staff out cleaning up like along Stoughton Road.
That could have been. I mean, Fitchburg has some maintenance responsibilities on Fish Hatch, even though it's a county.
Is
But
there an ordinance for business to keep their area clean, free of litter?
well, they're supposed to have enclosed receptacles with working lids and everything, so stuff doesn't fly out.
I don't mean to be rude, but we're over the time.
Are we over? Yeah. But no, I mean, I guess I don't believe there's anything in an
I
ordinance.
thought it was you helping get all that stuff cleaned up, so that's great. Ben did a great job.
All right.
Let's move on to item 5C, planned outreach event updates.
All right, well, we did have our outreach event last week, Pollinator Palooza. So exploring a world of pollinators, we had a professor from UW-Madison, Claudio Gretan, spoke and did a wonderful job. Learned a lot of really cool information on pollinators. The event was not one of our better attended events. You know, we had, I think, probably 12 residents beyond the staff that, you know, Diane and Kim and Ben and myself, but we did have pizza from Ian's Pizza that we gave away. We had giveaways from Young's Garden Center and K&A Greenhouse, and Claudio did a great job, and then that was followed up by a resident who has helped out with every one of my Swan Creek waterway cleanups, but he's a resident beekeeper, and he gave a nice talk, interesting talk on and complimented Claudio very well. His name's Gregory Veronstadt, and the two of them, they lasted a little bit, right around an hour in terms of their content, and then people asked questions for about 10-15 minutes, and Fact TV came out and did a nice job of recording the event. So if you missed it, the content is very good, and I would encourage you to check it out on Fact TV.
Yeah, and I can send a link out.
Yeah, good.
Definitely worth watching. It was really interesting.
Nice job organizing it, Chris,
Well,
and Ben, and Sharon, and Kim. Nice job on that.
yeah, I don't know if anybody else that was there has anything to add on it.
I think the weather, again, played a factor. I mean, it was chilly.
Yeah,
I would have been there, but I was sick.
It wasn't raining, so we held the event.
At least it wasn't raining, that's
Yeah.
true.
But it was, it was really, really, really interesting, I thought. I didn't know very much about pollinators until I went to that event, so learned a lot. Our next event is on Wednesday, June 12th at the library. It's a EV 101 event. So need to circle back on that one. So we have been working with MG&E, so that's a partnership between the Resource Conservation Commission, the Fitchburg Library, and MG&E. And MG&E is generally the lead organizer of these events, so we're just a co-host. So now that we're past our pollinator event, we will be focusing on promoting that event. So same types of things, we'll and the library, we're going to have outreach from MG&E and the library, and then kind of our normal channels as well. So I expect that to be a pretty well attended event. If you haven't been to an EV 101 event before, we have had a couple of them previously at the Fitchburg Library. The library is a good space for it, in the fact that we do have typically more of a classroom session in a meeting room on the second floor of the Fitchburg Library. So we'll talk over, something that's relevant within the EV world. So that could be, charging or charging at, I think we have put the request in for charging at multifamily complexes and how that's progressing. Just trying to understand some of the things that are happening in the EV world. And then we'll go out and we'll check EV cars. So there'll be residents and other EV owners that will bring their cars, and it's an opportunity for the other attendees to go around and ask questions about EVs and learn more about several different types. I believe that myself and Ron will have our vehicles there, and so we will be able to answer questions that people have, but they normally get a pretty good group of cars, so there's typically been, I would say, 8 to 12 cars, but more details will be coming out on that. I'll make sure that he has your name and probably be reaching out to you in the near future. And then Kim and Sharon and I will be talking about just other details about the event, so what we want to do for marketing, and then how we want to handle any refreshments that we might be giving away. And we'll also be talking with them about potential giveaways at the event. So we kind of bring people in with, our giveaways. We'd like to have, some type of food giveaway, normally a beverage, and then, or some type of beverage. And then if we can get people from the community to donate something, we do try to also give things away. So that has helped our attendance, and we also try to keep those events to an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and a half. Keep that pretty tight, respect everybody's time, including the people that are coming to speak at the event.
Doesn't MG&E provide the giveaways for the EV event?
They probably will.
Okay.
Do they have any marketing material prepared for this event?
They do have some imagery, so we'll be tapping into that.
Awesome.
So I'll probably contact him this week and set up a meeting next week, and then we'll roll out things. So much like I have in the past, I'll send out a marketing blurb and an image, and you can use that for social media posts or emails to your neighborhood association, whatever you want to do. And always feel free to make, modify the blurb that I provide you to send that out to your neighborhood association, however you want to do that. But appreciate everybody that has been doing that. All that helps in terms of getting attendance to our events. Anything else? Kim, is there anything else that we missed or we should be talking about? Anything for July with Plastic-Free July?
Bring your own bag.
We want to try that in July?
Yeah, so I am in the process of coordinating with a couple other organizations across the state, possibly one group up in Ashland County and another group in Eau Claire County. And so we're in the process of trying to figure out, I doubt we can all do it on the same date. But we are in the process of kind of coordinating efforts and figuring out what kind of press or media we might be able to get as a coordinated effort. And this would be part of kind of the article that I would be writing about the Plastic-Free July, is that we are going to be encouraging people across the state to join in on getting involved in Plastic-Free July and kind of listing out ways that people can get engaged and involved. And there is a whole website dedicated to this, so it's a really good way for people, if they've never done something like this before, to kind of take a small step and just get started. So there's a lot of really good examples, and the Bring Your Own Bag event would be part of one effort in a lot of other efforts that we would be trying to promote. So I'm haven't reached out to the store yet that I'm going to be hopefully working with, but I will be doing that in the next couple of weeks or so to kind of get that lined up, and then we'll be sharing more information as I coordinate with some of the other groups across the state in this effort.
Kim, if you have that location squared away before you get your article submitted, it'd be nice to give them some publicity.
Yes, that would be my goal.
Good.
Let us know if you need a hand with any of that coordination for that.
Okay.
There is maybe one more thing that we should mention in terms of outreach events, and so that's actually the event that we have coming up soonest that I almost forgot about. So is at the far back end of your packet, there's a outreach day at Promega. So that's gonna be on May 22nd, I believe, from 11 to 1 o'clock. And so we did this before the pandemic. We did this several times where we would go and just kind of talk about the types of things that we're doing in Fitchburg, and sometimes that sparks some interest by some of the employees at Promega. I would need to look at what we have, Ben, in terms of our boards or anything that we might have to figure out how we might be, how we want to display what we're doing here as in terms of the Resource Conservation Commission.
We used the city has a nice display board. We used that the last time we did this.
Okay.
And we put up at least on half of, that's a trifold, and on half of it, we put some of the plastic laminated pictures that we have, you know, in the, of the ideas about, with all those handouts that we have to reduce plastic. On the other half,
Yeah.
I think we did idling reduction. I'm pretty sure that we did. We had the, I don't know, Ben, if you have any of those laminates that the students made for
I have,
reduction? You have those?
no, I'm sorry, I jumped the gun. I have the plastic stuff
Okay.
that we did for when Ben and I did the plastic, or bring your own bag event. So I have that, but I do not have any of the idling stuff.
I'll have to look around and see what's stored away.
I might still have pictures of what the students did, but we also have it's a one-sided trifold, so it's not a great trifold, but on idling reduction, if you wanna promote that.
Yeah, I think let's figure out what we have. So if we can just figure out what we have, and then, you know, I think right now we can figure out, or people can be thinking about, does anybody want to attend that? So I think I will plan to attend from 11 to 1. So if you haven't been to the new Kornberg Center at Promega, it's a pretty impressive
building, yeah.
It's a very impressive building. You know, we don't need, you know, everybody, you know, they'll have 1 to 2 chairs. So we, you know, if we have, you know, like 4 people that want to do it, we could do 1-hour shifts.
I mean, I could help out.
You can help out with that?
I
All
could
right.
be available, yeah.
I originally told you that I'd be available and that I didn't know that it was a go, and unfortunately I have 2 other things planned, but
That's all right.
I could come for an hour and a half if you need it.
Okay. All right. So Ron and I will plan on it for now, and then
Do you want me to look into the idling reduction?
yeah, if you
Okay.
could look into what we have, and Ben, if you could give me and this is what I've got,
Yep.
and then we can kind of cobble together what we're gonna display there. I don't know that we need to have anything too fancy, it could be kind of general for the city of Fitchburg, but then, you know, more so that it would be the conversations that we could have with people that come by and maybe are interested in taking on a role with more sustainability outside of their workplace.
Sometimes CETA has things that, you know, we giveaways, you know, pens or
sure.
whatever. That would be,
Yeah,
That
I'm
would
sure
be
they've
nice to
got
have.
some promotional stuff.
and then if Ben or you or somebody should reserve the board,
Oh,
and that's through Joyce.
I will talk to Joyce.
It's kept in the safe, by the way, if whoever's picking it up. Or the vault or whatever you have down here.
Pretty nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Chris, the other ideas also is whether or not you would have handouts or something, but what Ben and I found when we were talking to people during the Bring Your Own Bag event is, you know, notifying people, letting people know about our spring and fall paper shred and recycling event. It was amazing how many people still had not heard about it. And then just, you know, letting them know about all of the events that we usually do in April, like, you know, the waterway cleanup and stuff. So those might be some ways to get more people engaged and participating in, you know, our annual events.
Yeah, you already got some good graphics from the data collection, you know, could show pictures of people cleaning up.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, anything else?
No, I think that's
Okay,
good.
let's move on to agenda item 6, the council update. Bill, I'm not sure if you know what you're supposed to do.
I'll take it, I'll just tell you a few things and you can tell me if I did the correct thing here, but since, like I said, just in the last month here, the mayor did an Arbor Day proclamation, as well as a Bike Month, Bike Week, and Bike to Work Day proclamation. Couple other things of interest to this commission, there's a few developments going up, so Bowman Plaza on North Fish Hatchery Road, right now is mostly empty, that's where the BP station used to be. And that will that'll get demolished, and then the tallest building in Fitchburg will go up there. It'll be 7 stories total, 5 of which are housing, and 2 of which unfortunately have to be parking. But, it's infill development right along that the main transportation corridor along the BRT route. So, nice dense development there, as well as out on the Hartung Fields area down here at the end of Lacey and Sain. There's some townhomes going in presently. And there will be also some more multifamily housing going in over there. The city signed contracts for vegetative management for Hillside Heights Park, Harlan Hills, and Renaissance. So those are like 3-year contracts, if I remember correctly, or maybe even longer. But that's they're planting native species, and this is like near retention ponds and wetlands and stuff, and prairies, and they'll do 1 prescribed prairie burn during the course of that contract as well.
Can I
Yeah.
on the housing that's being built, is that market rate housing?
I believe so, yes. I know there is at least one development that Mike Zimmerman's been working with the developer to get 10% of the units affordable at 60% of area median income.
Okay.
But I don't know that either of those are the developments in question.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And we also had, the tree planting events throughout the city. I don't remember how many of them there were. I went to the one at Rose Common Park. And that was it for my update. I guess I don't know what Gabriella has historically done here.
That's kind of,
About it, yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, sometimes it's short, sometimes it's a little bit longer, depending on what's going on in council.
Sure.
It's good.
Usually during budget time, it's a little bit longer.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Bill. Okay, let's move on to item 7, staff and commissioner updates. And 7A, solid waste.
Yes, so staff submitted the annual report to DNR summarizing the refuse and recycling program for 2023. So that's kind of what I referenced earlier with, that's all that information we get to Pelletary. We use that as part of this report. And then the city just received their recycling grant and consolidation grant from the DNR earlier this week for $106,000.
is that any different from last year?
Yeah, it's about $1,000 more. So yes, but not really. We've also been discussing applying for the program to reuse street sweepings. So right now, all the street sweepings are hauled to the Dane County landfill. We would like to see if we could reuse them in the city.
What makes up the street sweeping?
So it's a lot of sand. There's also trash, bottles, just, pieces of plastic, that kind of stuff.
Leaves?
Yes, definitely a lot of leaves in the fall.
Imagine a good deal of asphalt as well.
There's a lot of just asphalt. The city chip seals a lot of roads, so there's also just fine aggregate from the chip seal. And then kind of just a surprising amount of organic material.
The street sweeper can suck up bottles?
It can, yup. I saw flip flop in there the other day.
Really?
Yeah, it's got some vacuum power.
So can you sieve some of that material to recapture the sand or something like that, or
So-
reuse?
what we would need to do is get a screening attachment. So we just had a demo for one last week. It has to be screened through a 1/2-inch sieve. That's the size, the DNR discusses. And then we would have to basically test the material. So there's 10 different metals and about a dozen or so different organic compounds that you test to quantify their presence in the street sweepings. And then there's another test called a water leach test that needs to be performed. And depending on the content of the street sweepings, if the values of these contaminants are below these threshold levels, it can be treated as just kind of regular fill. So you could use it, just as fill material. If there are, certain compounds that are above the ceiling value, then it has to be treated differently. It could potentially still be used as fill, but it may have to be capped with clean fill or asphalt or some other kind of pavement. So we're going to work with CT Labs out of Baraboo. They should be sending some testing equipment here shortly. We'll get a result and we'll see. Just
do that one time.
No, you would have to do it annually.
So you just do like one load of street sweeping. I mean,
Well,
it could be.
I'm kind of am concerned about that. So what we would do is get like a representative sample and stockpile.
Like a composite.
Yeah, stockpile street sweepings.
Is chloride one of the parameters that you look at? I've never tested for chlorides in solids, but I'm
chloride is not one of the.
I'm just kind of curious as to how much salt is.
That's not something that you test for, chloride?
No.
Is DNR providing?
Doesn't that vaporize?
Sorry, what was that?
I think chloride doesn't it kind of vaporize into the environment fairly readily?
Chlorine, I think maybe does.
Yeah, not chloride. Chloride doesn't break down very easily. So chloride just stays in the water. I mean, they can't treat the chloride out of the water essentially. So that's why it's such a big deal with it going on our streets and making its way to our waterways, because essentially MMSD can't reduce that level.
Yeah.
So
all right, that makes sense.
There isn't a grant to do this testing.
There is not.
Well, maybe there is, but that wasn't what I was anticipating. It makes a lot of sense to reuse this fill if it can be used as clean fill, because the cost to dispose of it at the landfill is increasing pretty dramatically. I think this
we're looking at.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
A few hundred to several hundred tons. I think the city spent about $20,000 disposing of street sweepings. So if you could just test it once a year for about $500-600, there's staff time to screen it, of course.
Is that annual based when you said the weight? Was that annually?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's staff time to screen it, which you'd have to take into account, but once it's screened, it can just be used as any other kind of clean material, assuming that the tests, provide that.
What would be a typical use for the fill? I mean, we're talking about, you said, 100 tons, 200 tons, that's 100 to 200 yards, I would assume it's more.
Yeah, it's
not quite that much.
It's a significant volume. We would anticipate using it for a few different things. We would like to kind of build up the back of the maintenance area where they currently stockpile millings, compost. So you could just build that up vertically. Another thought would be mixing it in with gravel for shouldering roads. the city does uses a lot of gravel for reshouldering roads and just for maintenance, and then also as part of these resurfacing projects. I wouldn't use it for trench backfill, but maybe if you had some storm sewer and green space, you could. Or somewhere that isn't in the right of way, you could probably use it as trench backfill. So there's definitely several different things we've thought of that we could use it for. May not be able to use all of it every year, but there may be some other option to dispose of it that would be cheaper if we know that it's clean. But I'd have to look a little bit more into that.
Nice project.
Yeah, it could be interesting.
So right now it's landfill.
It is landfilled.
So, I mean, I think at the very least, even if we had like a year where it was too dirty, tested too dirty, I think Dane County would maybe still take that as a alternate daily cover.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Well, that's where they get hauled to Dane County now, and within the last 2 or 3 years, from what I understand, it almost tripled the cost per truck to dispose of the street sweepings. I haven't asked a lot of questions, but seems to just be their rate. So they don't put it anywhere different.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of the disposal rate that they pay, and I don't even know what those rates are. I mean, maybe, they could be up to $60 a ton, at this point.
I'm actually looking at the agenda for tomorrow's finance committee meeting, and there's a line item in here. We cut Dane County landfill a check for 79 tons of street sweepings for $4,424, which works out to about $56 a ton.
Yeah, they're straight up.
That's the straight up disposal.
That's their
So you can get a pretty significant reduction, you can get like half of that cost if it gets approved as an alternate daily cover. So the county would have to do, either it's in their special waste acceptance plan that they could do it, but otherwise they can write a plan modification to their solid waste permit to get that written in there. So
All right.
I've actually written up a lot of those plans before
I'll have
to get those
I'll
approved. I
reach out and see what that process looks like.
haven't done it too much for Dane County, but I've done it for other landfills.
Sure.
So landfills generally, are needing material that they will for alternate daily cover because they don't have soil on site.
Sure.
I think they use some of the fines, but there's challenges with that on Dane County's end as well.
Well, I'll have to ask them about that. See if there's an
Before we
opportunity.
move on to stormwater on the solid waste, you're going to get us copies of that DNR report?
Yeah.
Okay.
Send that out.
Right, stormwater.
Stormwater, so staff and town staff, this is for the Fitchburg Goose Lake project. We met with Rupert Melke and AECom. They teamed up to submit a proposal for engineering services, including design and permitting the Goose Lake Fitchburg Road stormwater project. You'll be seeing a resolution to approve a contract with them in the next meeting. So yeah, that'll be picking up here soon.
What will they be doing?
So they've got a few different tasks. They're gonna be doing a wetland delineation in the proposed work area. They'll be getting some ground survey. The past study that was completed just used LiDAR, so there's a few areas where we'll wanna get some actual boots on the ground survey points. And then they'll be doing some groundwater monitoring. So basically the idea is we will control the level of Goose Lake and Quarry Ridge Pond on the other side of Fitchburg through a drain tile outlet. This kind of ties into the next bullet point there with the Badger Mill Creek stakeholder group. MMSD will be discontinuing their effluent discharge into Badger Mill Creek.
Did the DNR approve
years. Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a done deal. They have until 2028 or 2029, I think, to discontinue their discharge. There's been a lot of concerns about lack of base flow in the upper reaches of Badger Mill Creek, so we think we can provide some water that's of decent quality to maintain that section as a Class 2 trout stream. So that's why we're kind of looking into this groundwater outlet idea. And then,
Can you show us where Badger Mill Creek is?
Yeah, I do the fish shocking for MMSD on the Badger Mill Creek. We're getting trout out there this big.
Really?
Downtown Verona, yeah. Brown
Wow.
trout, yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, the Badger Mill Creek, do you know where the closed landfill is out there?
No.
So, if you're traveling down to 18151 towards Verona, the first exit into Verona, there's the closed landfill. It's not too far from all of this. That's the kind of the slope or the hill off to the side, but Badger Mill Creek is just past that.
yeah, so here's Goose Lake on the screen.
Yep.
You keep heading west, there's this wetland complex that was constructed as basically a wetland mitigation project when they constructed 18151. And then you keep going.
So right under
Yeah.
where the landfill is right there, Ben, just on the other side of the road from where you're at right now.
Okay, right over here.
Okay.
Um,
Well, yeah.
So this right here, I'll try to zoom in, is where MMSD currently discharges their effluent.
It's like a little waterfall there.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
Yep. And then this is Badger Mill Creek. It starts basically, this is City of Madison. This is one of their regional retention basins. Historically, the creek would have, started, all the way up here. Now it's more of kind of a man-made drainage system. But yeah, this is
Okay.
City limits, where are they at, Brian? Is Badger Mill Creek within city limits?
it is not. So
But Goose Lake is.
Goose Lake is in town in Verona. So this is Fitchburg Road.
Oh, okay.
I should turn the roads on here. And this basically splits town of Verona on the west, city of Fitchburg to the east.
And that's the gravel ridge pond right above your,
Yep,
this
this
is
is
there.
the
Okay.
Quarry Ridge Pond. So this pond is kind of particularly deep for a stormwater pond. It was constructed in the 90s. We think that we can actually lower the permanent pool elevation of this pond to get some additional storage in here because it does occasionally overflow across Fitchburg Road. So we'd be controlling the level of that pond to be a little bit lower than it is now. We'd also have kind of a similar drain tile outlet here at Goose Lake. And then, if we have the ability to somewhat more maintain the level of the lake level, we won't have that tailwater effect that prevents, Fitchburg Road from draining.
Thanks.
Interesting. Cool project.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting. So the city is still kind of discussing with the DNR and MMSD, specifically Harwinds, about the proposed Yarmouth Greenway stabilization project, and then just in general, future opportunities to fund projects in the Nine Springs U-Way. There's been a lot of prior research done, plenty of reports, and there's some remeandering projects that have been proposed, floodplain reconnections. It could be a pretty significant way to trap phosphorus, achieve some pretty significant phosphorus reductions.
Is that why MMSD is involved?
That's why we would like to potentially work with them.
Okay.
If we, and it would be a huge project, so, multiple partners, there's different landowners. So we're just kind of talking about that at this stage. Kind of getting the stage set maybe for the future. We're still working on that Crescent Road stormwater project. Maybe won't be getting that done this year. We've got a wetland discharge permit that we're working through. The TMDL modeling project is getting close to complete. So right now we're just looking at some potential future BMPs that we could put into place. We're just modifying existing best management practices. The city doesn't have a ton of municipally owned land that makes sense to put a BMP. I think my predecessors pretty much got all the easy ones out of the way, low-hanging fruit. So now it's, I think, targeting maybe some retrofit opportunities, and just making sure that the facilities that the city does have are functioning as well as they can.
Can we back up to the bullet just before that? I noticed that somebody has been spraying along the retention pond in McKee Park.
Yes.
That's awfully close to the water. What are they spraying?
So they could be spraying a couple of different things. Near the water, they have to use herbicides that would be approved for aquatic use.
Okay.
The two things that we're most watching out for in that area are wild parsnip, and then there was also some purple loosestrife that was spotted over there. I believe, no, I was going to say poison hemlock, but that was somewhere else. And then we're going to be also overseeding that area a little bit at some point this year. There's kind of some spotty patches, but yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So the TMDL is a driver phosphorus then?
So I'm sorry.
The driver phosphorus, total phosphorus?
Yeah, so that's basically what it's all about. It's, you gotta have these phosphorus reductions. The city can't demonstrate that it's reaching these phosphorus reductions. We'll have a new, fresh model at the end of this that I think will really help us guide future decisions and where we can get the most bang for our buck with future projects that are targeted at reducing phosphorus. So that's really what we're looking to get out of that project. And
I
that's,
think it'd be interesting at some point to hear a presentation.
yes.
If AECom's doing it.
Yeah, so they have to be done by October.
Okay.
There's a grant for this project. That's part of the grant agreement, be done in October. But yeah, definitely. And if we're done in time for the stormwater focus meeting, I would like to kind of present it at that point.
And when is that?
October?
Yeah, I think it's September. It's in the fall, so I was thinking that it might work up.
That reminds me, can you send out the final calendar for us?
Oh, yes.
And the
Annual report.
annual report?
Yes.
I don't know if the annual report has ever been distributed to council. It probably has not.
No, it is not.
So Bill gets the pleasure of doing that.
I think the last time we saw it was just a draft, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the last one I saw, was just a draft.
Okay. Yep, well, I'll shoot it out to everyone then.
Thank you.
That's all I got for stormwater.
All right, sustainability, Ben?
Yeah, I'm covering for Phil here. I won't just read verbatim, just try to summarize. He's working on the sustainability plan.
Can we get an update on that at our next meeting?
Yes,
Please?
yes.
I don't think we've seen anything since
It's been
September.
a little while.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
So I know they're working with the planning group on putting together some draft goals for each of the different kind of main topics. So there's goals for buildings, as far as like energy efficiency, that kind of thing. There's goals for waste, water, transportation, yeah, energy, business or economy, like they might call it. So yeah, there's those, I think are all of them, but it looks like there's gonna be a draft report sometime in June or July.
Well, based on the interview that Phil did with Fact TV, it's the end of July. So if we could just get an update on what's going on at the June meeting, I think that would be nice.
We got dates set for the fall shred and recycling event. It's gonna be Saturday, September 14th.
What is it?
Saturday, September 14th.
That's the fall recycling day?
Yeah.
So,
It's not a Badger Gate Day.
it is it's a big Badger game day. It's Alabama's coming in.
Ooh.
And they just set the time for that game
What
this
time is it?
afternoon for 11 o'clock,
Is that?
which is a total bummer.
Can we get this, are there other options?
I think, I'd have to talk with Phil, he was setting it up, but I think this basically got picked because it was, I think it was the only one that worked for both Pelletary and Resource Solutions. I think they had, like, Resource Solutions could do a few and Pelletary could do a few, but this was, I think, the only one that worked for both of them.
Well, Pelletary also suggested perhaps doing one in the like late afternoon, early evening. So maybe we could do it on a weekday and get it out of the Saturday.
Yeah, I can talk to him about that.
We're gonna have a problem with volunteers and attendees, and I think we're gonna get some complaints.
Or what, I'll have it on that Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, it's a
Do the
it's a
Badger
huge
game.
game. I mean,
It's not a conference, it's not that big.
They're not the Gate Day yet.
They got a good coach.
No, it's not as big a deal. Yeah,
It'll be a cakewalk.
I hope so.
We will see. So low mow May, no low mow, no spray, low spray, all of the
Low spray.
everything. I guess there's about 60 participants, so it's a lot more than last year.
Based on the yards that I've seen, there are more than 60 participants.
Yeah, you don't need the sign, you can always just tell. So that's good.
So how low should you be able to cut your grass?
Well, if you can leave it, I just recently read this, if you can leave it about 5 inches, that's
Oh, okay,
good.
I'm good. All right. The dandelions are
And
just
it's
coming
growing like
way up.
crazy, yeah, at least ours is growing like
Yeah.
crazy.
And I don't want bees spending time on dandelions. I got fruit trees and I want them to spend their time on the fruit tree, not on dandelions.
All the fruit trees are done blossoming.
My cherry tree just finished, yeah. So,
We got cherries, apples, and
Apples,
pears, and they're all done.
yeah.
The only thing that survives is the dandelion.
Yeah.
Are you done with the sustainability part?
I got a couple more. I heard about the non-functional inverters. Looks like they're gonna get some new inverters, no timeline. And then Phil's been attending.
So we got
some
reimbursed, what, like
conferences.
11,000 or something?
Yeah, it was
Next to nothing.
like
Yeah.
kind of just, I guess, take what you can get at that point. Yeah, that's the sustainability update.
Do you have any news on the salt reduction? I know that went to the governor. Did he sign it?
No, he vetoed it.
He did?
No.
That's disappointing. Do you know why?
Kind of, I guess. I think concerns that, you know, someone's gonna break their hip and not being able to get their medical bills paid for because the company doesn't have liability. I think that's generally the reason.
That's what comes out.
Any update on the dark sky ordinance?
Yes, so I should this week, or if not this week, next week, be getting comments back from all the staff that reviewed it. Once I get those comments, kind of review it. I'm thinking that, well, the draft that we put together was, I think, really very robust. We may have to kind of simplify a few things, but we'll see what kind of comments we get. The concern that I was getting was, you know, we have to make sure that whoever's on staff is actually going to be able to review this. So there may be some things that we could take out, and I think definitely could be without hurting the intent of it. So yeah, hopefully in the June meeting we'll have an agenda item with some better info.
Yeah, it was nice to have the dark skies on Friday.
Yeah.
See the aurora. I don't know if everybody saw it here in Fitchburg.
I tried, but Madison wasn't cooperating, and I was too tired to
Clouds
try.
rolled in and the rain started just about the time.
But after they went away, you could see the aurora.
Yeah, all like
It was amazing.
picnic
I went to
points.
bed at like
Saw it.
11:30 or midnight.
Really?
What time?
Well, about 12 o'clock, and
Uh,
12:30 or something, to look at your pictures.
I got up at 1:30 and looked, and Madison was just too bright.
Yeah, it was coming in the
Picture, yeah.
northwest area. And if you use your cell phone, the camera picks
That's
up
what
the
I've
different
heard.
lights up.
Yeah.
I want to experience the real deal. I don't want it to be experienced through my cell phone.
What's
I know a lot of people got a lot of good cameras.
We saw it on Saturday night on the western part of the state, in Driftless area, where it was real dark. And it was just white, but it was really cool and bright. But when you put your phone up to it, you could see the purples and greens.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't have a timestamp because he just sent it to me, but. Simon, Picnic
Oh, wow.
Point,
Is it Picnic Point?
yeah.
That's a good spot. Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Greens.
Didn't even pose very well. Alright, I have to go, sorry.
All right, so,
and one thing on
Got
the
anything
dark
else?
sky
Yeah,
ordinance.
we need to talk about June quorum.
I think there should be
Oh, yeah,
a rule, with something in there that says, if you're a particular distance away from a light, you shouldn't have direct line, or, you know, you shouldn't have a direct line of sight to the light source itself. For instance, all the lighting at the courtyard along Wilshire, apparently, if you note your.
And I have not been there, well, it's,
Yeah, if you note your meter, supposedly it meets all the right criteria, but if you live right across the street, you can see every one of those lights, and it
are their lights
shines.
pretty high up?
Some of them are, yes. They're meant to illuminate the parking lot, but, you know, the light spills into the condos across the street. And I've seen some pictures, and it's you know, it's like projecting
Oh, yes.
into their windows. And I think if they had a shroud around each of the light sources, that would take care of it, and they'd be able to, you know, have full cutoff by the time you hit the sidewalk or the street.
And I think that's really the most important piece, or one of the most important pieces of what we put together is it's full cutoff would be required.
Well, I think the actual definition of full cutoff is not what I thought full cutoff meant. Full cutoff just means that if you go like 10 degrees below the horizon, below level, the luminosity is like 10% of the full rated luminosity or something like that. But it's still like if you go there like after this meeting,
Yeah, we'll drive by.
yeah, and take a look if you're on the west side of Wilshire, on the sidewalk or something. It's pretty bright.
Okay.
Before we go here, Diane's got just something.
Chris and I have been asked to speak to my neighborhood association's annual meeting, which happens to conflict with our June meeting here. And it's at the Great Dane, so it's not that far away. And so what Chris and I were thinking, if we have a quorum, if Chris and I leave, we'll go and make a 20-minute presentation and come back. And so my question to you is everybody planning on being at the June meeting so that if Chris and I,
In
June 10th.
I'll be at West Point.
I'll be here.
I have my middle school conservation camp, so I will be gone.
I'll be here, I think.
and do you go by Andy or Andrew?
Andy,
That's what I thought, but usually it says Andrew on your thing. Do you plan on being here?
yeah, I'll be here.
Well, we lose, we're losing 2 members, will we not have quorum for the time when we're gone?
So I'm not
4 people.
saying that I'll possibly be able to.
Oh, you might be able to join virtually, okay.
I will be out in New York.
You can also, if there are discussion items that don't require a vote, I don't know that you need a quorum for that.
Well, if you
So
could
we
put
could-
the agenda together, then we
Yeah.
can sort of
We'd probably start
address
chipping
this.
away at the agenda now and see what we can kind of come up with. I mean, we should have a hardy enough agenda. I know Sustain Dane is planning to come here and talk about food scrap collection from the farmer's market. That'll probably be the first part of that meeting, so we'll have to iron some things out, make it work.
Okay. It sounds like we can make it work then, so.
Okay,
Good.
Yeah.
Unless we all meet at the Great Dane.
well, there's that.
All right. If there's nothing else, let's adjourn the meeting. Oh, good job, timekeeper, early. Okay.